What are you doing? Where'd you get that?
Wouldn't you like to know? Let's tell them about it.
Okay. Well, hello there, parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I'm your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
In this video, we are going to tell you about Appomattox Court House and the story behind this doll.
That's right.
Among other things.
Yes.
But mainly Appomattox Court House. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, if you're into the paranormal, history, forensic, and travel type videos,
don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell so you'll hear from us next time we post a new video.
I almost forget what I was going to say there for a minute.
How could you do that? You
got me a little bit.
You mean the doll is creeping you out?
Creeping me out.
Okay.
You know I don't like weird, creepy dolls.
I know, and this one doesn't even have a face.
I know. Come on. All right. So anyways, we are talking about... What are we talking about? We are talking about Panic D number 1928, which is Appomattox Courthouse, is located at 111 National Park Drive in Appomattox, Virginia.
That's correct.
And
it's open to the public.
It is. It's a national park.
That's right.
All right. So let's clarify a few things.
Okay.
Because I'm only telling you this because when I was a kid, I thought the surrender took place at the courthouse. No, it didn't. Appomattox Courthouse is the name of the town.
That's correct.
That it took place in. The surrender took place at the McLean House, which is a house at Appomattox Courthouse. Stop it. Can we do the video?
Yes.
So tell them a little bit, like, who surrendered? What are we talking about?
So this was the event that happened on April 9th of 1865, and this is where General Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant. Can't believe I couldn't say Ulysses there for a second.
That's okay. It's a tongue
twister. It is Ulysses.
So there was a battle that took place in Appomattox. They call it the Battle of Appomattox. And it started in March. Mm-hmm. And basically what happened was Grant came in, surrounded Lee's army. Lee was trying to escape to get supplies, to join up with another general, resupply his army, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Grant came in, and he had the foresight of saying, hey, let's stop them from getting resupplied, surrounded Lee's armies, and they battled for a while, days. And it got to the point where Lee's army was running out of supplies. So Grant was communicating with him back and forth via messenger. Now, historians can correct me if I'm wrong, and they probably will down in the comments, but I'm giving you the broad strokes of what took place if you never heard of this before.
Right.
I'm not reading from a book. I'm going from up here, which is
that's scary.
A little scary. Okay, so he basically said, hey, look, give up. I know you're running out of supplies. Take the gentlemanly approach. It's over. Let's sit down and talk.
Yes.
Right?
Essentially.
So Lee slept on it, basically. And the following morning, he sent a note back. He says, yes, I'm ready to surrender. Please find a suitable location. This is when they found the McLean house. Actually, they didn't find it. McLean offered it. Hey, you could come here, come to my parlor, sit down.
That's right.
Talk.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Am I close?
Yes, that sounds pretty good. And of course, there were
we're
a lot
talking
of,
about a lot, but we have a lot of pictures.
There were a lot of people who were there that day, and
let's show the pictures while we're talking.
Okay.
In case we don't run into what we did before and we ran out of talking and had more pictures.
Oh, okay.
So these pictures are of the entire visit to Appomattox Courthouse.
Yes, because as Sean said, Appomattox Courthouse is essentially a town. So it's not just one building. There are several buildings that are part of what is considered Appomattox Courthouse National Park today.
Okay. There we go. All right. So as you can see here from this placard, there's several buildings there.
Yes.
Okay. And we went there. When did we visit there?
July of 2017.
Okay. You act like your memory's that great, but we just read it before we started recording.
That's right, because I had to know what year it was.
Okay.
And we generally do these types of trips in July.
All right, so let's talk about a couple things. You said that there was a lot of people that were there during the negotiations of the surrender.
That is true.
Okay.
Yes.
Who was one of them?
One of them was one of Lincoln's sons.
That's right. Robert Lincoln was present during that. He was actually an aide to General Grant, and he was there during the negotiations and the ultimate surrender.
Yes.
Custer was there, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, there were several soldiers, several officers, generals that were present.
Yes.
Grant had said he actually disciplined a officer who was like taunting the Confederate soldiers that were there, pretty upset, about the surrender, and he disciplined him. He said, "No, we're going to do this in a gentlemanly fashion. Anybody else does this, they're going to have to answer to me."
Yeah, Grant was
he was very adamant about that.
Yes.
Now, as far as terms of the surrender, here we go again. I might say something that make the historians upset, but there's specific things about the surrender. First, he said they could keep their horses, meaning the Confederate soldiers can keep their horses, and they could keep a sidearm, I think. I think it was a sidearm, or maybe a rifle. I don't know. But they were taking their ammunition. And he wanted them to keep that, to leave, to go back to their home. That was a bad picture.
That was a bad picture.
To go back to their home to restart their life. Because a lot of these people were farmers and their homes were destroyed and everything. I mean, he didn't have to do that. He could have just said, "Nope, we're capturing your entire, everyone's a prisoner," things like that. But no, he stated that here's what's going to happen. So they were able to leave with their horses and leave with I think it was a rifle. It might have been a sidearm.
I want to say a rifle, but
they took the ammunition, I believe. Well, what they had left, which they didn't have much left.
Right.
So that was some of the terms of the surrender. Actually, they did not take Lee into custody.
No.
And he, he signed the agreement and basically walked away. He was very, I'm not sympathizing with Lee at all, but he was very distraught over the whole thing because he felt that he failed his men.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He felt that way several times after several of the battles. He definitely took everything to heart every time there was an issue.
Yeah. So, anyways, this location became a national park in 1935.
Yeah.
The entire village became a national monument to basically to the surrender and everything.
Yeah.
Now, the McLean house, which I think these are pictures of the McLean house.
Yes.
And actually, I think it's going to show, that's the desk that Lee was sitting at that signed.
Well, reproduction, I think, because the real one that is in the museum portion.
Yeah. But let's lead up to your little story there about the doll. Okay.
Well, there's a picture of all the people that were there.
Yeah. Probably could read that, but there we go.
Parker, Porter, Lincoln, Grant, and so forth. Yeah.
After everything was done, officers and soldiers went into the McLean house and cleaned out the McLean house. They took everything because they thought, okay, I want a piece. I want a piece of this as a souvenir.
A memento of the occasion.
Memento. One of the things that was in the room during the negotiations and the signing was what's called the witness doll.
Yes.
It's not this one.
No.
We didn't steal it.
We didn't steal it. It's actually safely at the museum, but they do sell replicas.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the doll you've been creeping me out with here a little bit?
Well, this is actually one of the McLean children's well, this one isn't, but it was one of the McLean children's dolls. I think her name was Lula. And she was 7 years old, and she had left this on the couch or on the mantle. I can't remember which.
I think it might have been the mantle.
And so during the event, basically the guys were like picking it up and playing with it, and they were tossing it back and forth. And eventually...
Somebody took it.
Yeah. So eventually... it was Colonel Horace Porter, called it the Silent Witness doll. He said this was a silent witness to the event, which named it, essentially. But because it was so, important, it was this silent witness to this grand event.
Again, not this one, but the one that they have in the museum.
Right.
We did not steal the doll, trust me.
Yes. So Captain Thomas W.C. Moore of Major General Sheridan's staff actually took it. He took it, and he took it back to New York. And for 128 years, his family kept it. And then eventually, they decided that it was important that it come back to Appomattox Court House. So they actually returned it, and it is now on display at the museum.
Yeah, which there might be a picture of it flashing here.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, but this was... Poor little girl lost her doll.
I know. She was devastated.
I know, but...
Well, the entire McLean family was devastated. They took all their personal stuff. Now, originally, like, down the line, I can't remember... We were talking about this before we started recording. They dismantled the McLean house.
They did.
And I think it was before this became a national park. I don't know if they were going to take it to the Smithsonian or if it was going to be on travel for one of the World's Fairs or something like that. I can't remember, but it was completely dismantled.
Yes. And they have since taken it and rebuilt it.
Yeah, they brought it back, rebuilt it, and what you see there today are... Well, there it is, the doll sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Replicas.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I think any of the pieces that were returned to the museum are in the museum, not in the McLean house.
Yes, I agree.
So they must have left it on the couch, then not the mantle.
Yeah, something says mantle, but maybe it was a couch because they put it on the couch.
Are your arms getting tired sitting there holding that thing?
No.
Could put it back there with Boris. Oh,
yeah.
no, Boris might do something bad.
We'll just leave Lula's doll in my care.
So another building that was there, actually, I want to show this picture. Can I show this? No, I can't. I'll put it overlay right now because you've seen enough of the desks. Here's a picture of people standing out in front of the actual courthouse at Appomattox Court House, which is now the museum. So these are soldiers that are standing there and, at the time. Okay, like we said, there's several buildings there.
Yes.
You could sit her down if you want to.
Oh, I'm enjoying holding her.
Okay. One of the buildings was a print shop.
Yes.
And they printed up parole slips for every one of the Confederate soldiers to take, which gave them passage
to go back home.
Yeah. Which, this was back before social media and all that kind of stuff like that. They had to cross over. Since the Army was surrounded by Union Army, they had to pass through
Union Army to get out.
And that's what these slips were for, to show them, Lee surrendered, I'm going home, that kind of thing like that.
Yeah, so they actually printed them right there.
Yeah, that was actually neat. We didn't get one of those?
I think we did. I think we printed them ourselves.
Oh,
it's probably in the...
It's probably buried somewhere.
Yeah, in the pile of
yeah, it was
materials.
pretty neat to see those. And let's talk a little bit about... Did I cover like the history and the stories? Was there anything else? We need to talk about some of the paranormal.
Yeah, but it's just this. Just even though it was reconstructed and a lot of the things weren't the McLeans in the house when we visited, it was really amazing.
Oh, you were stepping back in time.
yeah, you knew what event happened here, and it was an important event. It essentially ended the Civil War. It didn't.
It was the
wasn't
beginning of the
officially.
end.
It wasn't officially called off until like the next year, but
they celebrated in DC when this happened.
Because this was Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
And Robert E. Lee just surrendered, and his was the biggest army. This was Robert E. Lee, you know? This was a big deal.
There's the McLean house.
This was a very big deal. And just the fact that, like, you could still go there and walk in those places.
It would have been cool if we were there if there were reenactors.
That would be cool as
well. But then we would, be like, okay, is that a reenactor? Is that
a ghost?
An apparition?
Yeah.
Have we ever done that yet to a reenactor?
I have not done that to a reenactor.
I want to get that on film if you do that. That would be awesome.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the paranormal. Of course, there was a battle that took place there. A surrender took place there. All that emotions and everything. Of course, this place is going to have some paranormal activity. However, there are a couple stories that are interesting. Normally, I would just have Boris do this, but I would like to get this video done. It takes hours to produce those. So, sorry, Boris.
Boris needs to be, he's a prima donna.
Yeah. Got to get him his own trailer and he has to have special beverages. No, I'm just kidding. So Augustus Root, a lieutenant colonel in the 15th Regiment of the New York Volunteer Cavalry, is subject of a story that is particularly noteworthy. During the conflict of Appomattox Court House, a bullet to the neck instantly claimed Root's life. Yeah, that would be a bad day. Yeah. The yard of Louis Isabel's house, which is now the park headquarters of Appomattox Court House National Park, was used as a temporary burial for his remains so that they might be preserved for future generations. Now, locals have long called this house the Haunted House of Appomattox, and they blame Root's presence for the unexplained events that take place there. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. There's another story that was posted on a forum that talks about reenactors who spent the night there camping out. So this gentleman was awakened during the night by the sound of heel plates clicking on the concrete. So he heard the sound and he woke up and he identified himself as a Confederate soldier. He must have been dressed up as a Confederate soldier.
Must have been.
Yeah. Then the phenomenon stopped occurring after he identified himself. So he got up, got dressed and everything, went out walking around, couldn't find a source of this sound, which is, hey, he had a paranormal experience.
Yeah.
So something took place.
And it seems like that happens a lot to reenactors because, if there was some sort of, presence that, didn't realize that time had passed, and they see somebody dressed up just like them, they're, one of the guys.
Right. So the apparitions of soldiers have been reported, shocker, amongst the sounds of battle have been reported, strange lights and alarms have been photographed and seen, plus the other paranormal stuff that I told you about. So this place, even though very historic, there's pictures of those things that we were talking about.
Yeah, there's the parole papers in the printing room.
Even though it's very historical, it's also haunted. Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, this is the print shop. And those things that are hanging there, those are the plates. But those things are hanging. They would print these off and then hang them so that they would dry. Mm-hmm. And then they would fill in the information. I think you have a couple of them that came back there that were original in the pictures.
Yeah, there's a couple pictures.
But, yeah, that was kind of neat seeing that. And you said we printed one?
Either we printed one or they printed them for us and we were able to take them. I definitely remember being in there, and I really think that
there's some of the ones that were filled out with names of soldiers that came back to the museum.
Yeah, but it's definitely really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those places that you're like, yeah, history happened here.
I'm glad it still exists.
Yes.
And they put the McLean house back together.
Yeah, I think it's
very pivotal for our nation's history. Is this location?
And I was devastated when I heard that they had taken it apart, and then I'm like, what? Why would you do that? But I'm very glad that they did rebuild it.
I think they were going to take it to the Smithsonian. I think is what was going to happen.
I was thinking the World's Fair. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay, so I said, I don't know how many times I think it was going to the Smithsonian. I was wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was the World's Fair.
Everything's related to the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. The McLean House was there.
Was it there, or was it supposed to go there?
It was dismantled in 1893 for display at the Chicago World's Fair, and then later rebuilt at Appomattox Court House National Historical Park. So it was there.
Okay.
And then brought back and rebuilt. Now, they did say the reconstruction is based on detailed plans and drawings made before the dismantling. That World's Fair is like the pinnacle, like the vortex of history.
Yeah, there's so much that happened then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another time. Yes. Have we done videos on that? I think we have.
I don't know that we did.
We might have to do more.
We did a podcast on it for sure.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Okay, we might have to do videos on that fair.
Okay. So the reconstruction of this building happened, and then they reopened it 80 years, I think, 80 some years after, in 1949. So they reopened it officially on April 9th, which was the anniversary, which is kind of cool too.
Okay.
I like it when they do things historically. Like they tie...
Based on the dates?
Yes, I really do like that.
As part of the ceremony?
Yeah.
Things like that?
Yeah.
All right. It looks like we're starting to wrap up our pictures here. A lot of them are duplicated. Sorry about that.
Well,
but that's the way Marianne takes her pictures.
Like that.
Okay, take 12 in a row. Oh, normally it's 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
But is there anything else you would like to add? About this location?
Well, I think that I pretty much said all I wanted to say about the location and how I was excited to be there and how important it was and how, you just get that feeling like history was made here.
It's like you walk back in time. It really is. That's why I said if there was reenactors there or people dressed up in period clothing, which I can't remember if there was or not. We've been to so many places.
I don't think there were that day.
Not in a print shop?
No,
But if they had more of that, and two, when we visited, it was in July.
Yeah, it was hot.
But there was something going on there that a lot of people were at one building. They were doing something. I don't know if it was a talk or something that was going on. Mm-hmm. Remember?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff going on. It seemed like a lot of employees were at that location, which was kind of nice for us because we were in and out of the other buildings and we didn't kind of go over there and see what was going on, which might explain why. I guess if we go back at a different time and they don't have an event going on,
that's true.
It might be different.
Yeah.
But
and then I just wanted to also mention that just down the street, they do have a small Confederate cemetery that we visited as well. That was kind of like not part of the property, but like adjacent.
It's close.
Yeah,
and
really
if I
close.
do remember, there were Confederates and Union that was in there. A couple Union, rest were Confederates.
I think so. I think you're right.
They were those who had passed during the battle. So, yeah, quite interesting place. If you're in the area,
definitely check it
stop.
Out. Yeah,
and bring little kids so you can show them it wasn't a courthouse.
Right, and get them a doll.
Get them a little
silent witness doll.
All right. I think we'll wrap this one up. What do you think?
Okay.
All right, folks. Till next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.